New York shimmered under the drizzle, a city that never slept, only schemed. Beneath it, in an abandoned subway tunnel, a man worked in silence. Blueprints, surveillance feeds, and coded equations covered the walls like modern hieroglyphs. His name was Elias Kane, once a Wall Street prodigy who built empires with numbers. Then came the collapse. One fraudulent transaction, one that he didn't commit, and his world turned to ash. His wife, a Federal Reserve scientist, died in a lab accident the night before his arrest. 5 years later, Elias had nothing left to lose and everything to avenge. He no longer played by the market's rules. He was building his own. His new mission wasn't to steal money. It was to expose the architecture of corruption. On the cracked subway wall behind him, written in red marker, were the words, "If the law protects the corrupt, justice must wear a mask." He began to assemble the unlikeliest of allies. 7 strangers, each exceptional, each broken in their own way. The strategist, a dying gentleman thief who lived for one last masterpiece. The coder, a hacker who could slip into any firewall like a ghost. The poet, an explosives expert who recited verses before detonations. The panther, a trained fighter whose calm vanished the moment bullets flew. The inventor, an engineer with no conscience but perfect precision. The fox, a seductive negotiator, fluent in 9 languages of deception. The shadow, a soldier abandoned by his country, now a master tactician. Elias found each of them scattered across continents. Prisons, dark alleys, forgotten corners of the web. He offered them not wealth, but purpose. When they finally met under the city, he said only this: "We're not thieves, we're correctional forces." They wrote the rules, we're just erasing the lies between the lines. For 6 months, they vanished from the world. Their training took place in an underground chamber hidden beneath a derelict art gallery. Every wall told a story: Manhattan's sewer maps, satellite images, and digital schematics of the Federal Reserve. They trained like soldiers, thought like economists, and moved like ghosts. Elias taught them patience. "The world's most dangerous weapon isn't a gun," he said. "It's time in the wrong hands." The poet built controlled detonations. The coder cracked the Reserve's encrypted network. The shadow perfected entry and escape timing to the second. The fox practiced manipulating negotiators on fake news broadcasts. But there was one folder Elias never opened in front of them. It was labeled Project Mirage. Only the strategist ever saw what was inside. And when asked what it was, he smiled faintly and said, "It's not a heist. It's a message." On a cold, gray Monday morning, the city went about its usual chaos. 7 people dressed as a maintenance crew entered the Federal Reserve building through a concealed service tunnel. At 9:23 a.m., the building went into lockdown. Security cameras looped. Guards were disarmed. Hostages were gathered in a conference hall. Elias's voice echoed through the loudspeakers. "Stay calm. You are not in danger. You are simply inside history being rewritten." Outside, the city erupted in panic. Helicopters circled. News vans flooded the streets. In the command center, Agent Lila Morgan, head of crisis negotiation, arrived. Sharp, composed, and skeptical, she began communication with the masked voice behind the building walls. What baffled her most was his demand. He didn't want money, vehicles, or an escape route. He only wanted time. Inside, the tension boiled. The coder started losing focus, overwhelmed by guilt over the hostages. The panther grew restless, wanting action. The poet meditated, whispering lines of Rumi between explosions. Outside, Agent Morgan's team decoded a strange signal from the vaults, printing presses running nonstop. But the vault wasn't being robbed. The robbers were creating something. Morgan began to dig into Elias's past and uncovered documents suggesting that the same officials leading her operation had once conspired to cover up his wife's death. Meanwhile, inside the vault, the Fox began sending coded transmissions to the FBI, secretly betraying the team in exchange for freedom. Elias noticed, but instead of stopping her, he waited. He needed to see how deep betrayal could go before loyalty was tested. The storm came at night. FBI assault teams breached the eastern tunnels. The shadow detonated steel barriers, trapping the intruders. In the chaos, the fox made her move, whispering to Elias that she could end this madness by handing him over. Before she could finish her sentence, the strategist poured her a glass of red wine. "For your new life," he said. Minutes later, she was dead, poisoned quietly, her betrayal silenced. Meanwhile, outside, Agent Morgan found encrypted files proving the reserve was hiding illegal offshore accounts under the label economic balancing programs. She began to realize Elias wasn't the villain. He was exposing the real thieves hiding behind the law. Morning came with gunfire and smoke. The federal agents stormed the reserve, breaching through broken tunnels. Elias ordered an evacuation, but the strategist, coughing blood, weak but smiling, refused to go. "Every masterpiece needs a final brushstroke," he said. He locked himself inside the vault, set the detonators, and played a classical symphony through the building's speakers. As explosions echoed across lower Manhattan, the media declared it the most violent heist in modern history. But far beneath the rubble, through a hidden escape tunnel leading to the East River, 5 survivors emerged. The architect, the panther, the poet, the shadow, and the coder. They had disappeared. The city believed them dead. Hours later, in a secret warehouse, Elias revealed the truth. They hadn't stolen a cent. They had erased $8 billion of illegal digital currency. Money that funded wars, elections, and greed. "We didn't rob the system," Elias said. "We made it confess." The world economy shuddered. Debts vanished overnight. Wall Street screamed, "Cyber attack." But millions of ordinary people woke up debt-free. The legend of the Manhattan Mirage began. A name whispered in dark corners and bright screens alike. Months passed. Anonymous donations appeared across the world for hospitals, schools, disaster victims. The erased funds had been redistributed to the people. Agent Morgan resigned, leaving the bureau behind. She received a letter in the mail. The Mirage Café, Essaouira. A friend. In Morocco, she found a seaside cafe with that name. There, she saw the coder sipping coffee, looking out at the horizon. Before she could reach him, 2 black SUVs arrived. Men in suits dragged him away. When she rushed to his table, she found another note beneath his cup. "If truth costs blood, we already paid." In a safe house by the sea, the surviving members reunited. They had lost friends, blood, and time, but not purpose. The cabal behind the reserve had resurfaced, more powerful than ever. Elias unveiled the last stage of his plan, Project Mirage, a decentralized digital system to redistribute global currency fairly, removing banks from power forever. The shadow stood guard as assassins approached. The coder uploaded the system while bullets shattered the windows. The panther fell fighting. The poet recited one final verse before disappearing in the smoke. Elias, wounded and fading, pressed the last command key. "We didn't need to survive," he whispered. "We just needed to be believed." Around the world, every device flickered with the same message. The mirage is real. Economies collapsed. Corruption was exposed. The world entered a new era. And somewhere in Morocco, a small cafe by the sea reopened, empty, except for a single glass of untouched red wine and a note resting beside it. "Truth cannot be killed. It only hides until the next mirage."